Hey, so this is going to be about the concept of the moles. This is the first introductory video about what the moles are, and then for the subsequent videos there's going to be one for each mole conversion. So let's understand what the concept of the mole is. In this picture there's 5 different items, and what is similar in all of these. So if you look at it, there's copper, there's iron, there's dextrose, sodium bicarbonate, and water. And you notice that each of these ones have different sort of chemical composition. So like dextrose has different elements to make up dextrose, and sodium bicarbonate has different elements to make up sodium bicarbonate. And if you really look at this, what is similar in all of these is that they're all in grams, and they're all grams for 1 mole. So these, if you look at the units, that's what's similar in all of these. So what does the mole represent? Let's look at the next one. And if you look at these 3 different sort of everyday items, you have apples, you have oranges, and teddy bears, and you notice that each of these ones will have a dozen apples, dozen oranges, and a dozen teddy bears. So why am I using a dozen and relate that to the moles? Well, simply because the concept of the mole is really like a conversion unit similar to the dozen. So if you think about the mole, not just like a dozen, but except that the mole is a really big number. Let me just get my pen here. So the mole is a conversion unit similar to a dozen, except that moles represent a really, really large number. That's your Avogadro's number. So if you look at this number right here, 602 sextillions, that's a lot of zeros here, right? That's your Avogadro's number. And in Avogadro's number, that's Avogadro right here on the side. And if you think about a dozen apples, you know, if you have a dozen apples, you have 12 apples. If you have a mole of apples, you have this many apples. So if you think about moles, it's really looking at this quantity of things for 1 mole. So 1 mole has this number of things. So apples, you can have socks, you can have phones, it doesn't really matter. So this is what the Avogadro is. And if you look at this, this is your scientific notation just to truncate, just to make your writing a lot less, because now it's 6.022 times 10 to the power of 23. That means that you put the decimal here, and if you count all the decimal places that this will go to the end, you will have 23 times. That is a substantially humongous number, because that's what a mole is, and that's what we're measuring atoms and particles for 1 mole. So when we think about the Avogadro's number, you have to think about that this is a measuring unit, and it could be anything that we want for 1 mole. So when I say that, it could be about molecules, it could be about atoms, it could be about eggs per 1 mole. It doesn't really matter. It is just that this Avogadro's number represents a lot of things for 1 mole. So if you have 1 mole of it, you're going to have this number of it. So what can this mole do? So when we look at what moles can convert in 3 things. So the first thing that we have looked at is that you have looked at the number of things that you can convert. So if you have 1 mole of something, like you have 1 dozen of something, you know that you can have this many things. That's your Avogadro's number. So you can have 6.022 times 10 to the 23 things. So 1 mole of gas represents this number of things. So that's one part. Another part is that we're going to see that in your periodic table you have a molar mass. That's the atomic mass that you see. Your moles can actually convert to how heavy of a particular element is based on how many moles that you have. Okay, and then the next one is this one is strictly for the volume of a gas. So if you have 1 mole of gas, it will represent this volume, 22.4 liters in volume. That's for your moles of gas. This one is just strictly for gas. So this was a short introductory video of what moles is. The next videos will look at the actual mole conversion. So check them out just to see if they help you. Thanks for watching.